Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Kuntres HaTefila. 50 minutes a day, change your life. We're finishing up over here, Parak Yud. So we were discussing the importance of essentially putting in the effort to daven. And that's what he's saying. That you have to learn Chassidus in a way that you sit there and not just you learn it, but you not just you close the sefer, but you think about it. And you spend the time to really internalize, really meditate on it, and meditate on the concepts, what it really means, and how to apply it for yourself. Okay, page 94. We'll go from the top, this one small page. And then I'm going to do something a little bit special. Okay, this is the meaning of the verse. Why is the purchase price of wisdom in the hands of a fool? Meaning the person has the ability to do something, but he's foolish. So the foolish person is getting the decision making. That's not how it should be. It should be nefesh l'kis making decisions. Since he lacks an understanding heart, it would have been preferable for him not to have acquired wisdom at all. Because what I was saying, like we said yesterday, that the problem is when a person learns chassidus but doesn't apply it at all, and often it can just be some mavis, it can be portion of death, meaning he ends up using a chassidus, which is meant to be a heilige thing for heilige reasons, and using it for non-heilige reasons, for his own ego. Then at least he would not have fallen prey to conceit. He wouldn't have had this gas ruach, wouldn't be so haughty. It's possession during prayer. Therefore, one who desires life, whoever wants to live a good life, ought not to excuse himself from further avodah through the study of chassidus. Don't excuse yourself of doing more than just learning chassidus. Meaning, don't just learn chassidus, but apply the chassidus. Put in the effort to learn, to understand the chassidus. Meditate on it. Think about it, and not just close the book, but really like sit there and as Rebbe Rashab also said, mine chassidus. Like there's gems, you have to just mine them. Meaning, don't run to learn another thing. Learn one thing many times. There's a story that one time in like Rebbe Rashab, a very famous chassid, but they say that he wasn't known as like a big masculine chassidus, that he knew a lot necessarily. But one time the Baruch Yeshiva asked him a question about a maimer. There's two times I heard the story, and it was like two times it happened. One time I asked him a question, and he answered like straight off the bat. And there was nothing, he wasn't learning the maimer or anything, and it was like probably a deep question. So the Baruch asked him, said, how'd you know that? Like, this is a random maimer, and you just answered like quick. So one time it happened, he said, I was there by the maimer when it was said, which is like, wow, but it showed that he really internalized the maimer that he had heard, and it really impacted him, and he took the time to really internalize it. The other story, that the same thing happened, and they asked him, like, how'd you know that? Like, it's a random, you didn't, So he goes, no, it's dumb. I just chazed it 300 times. Meaning he learned and internalized it. Back in the day when the Rebbe would say a maimer, especially like let's say in the times of Rebbe Rashab, a lot of times the maimer would be said Friday night. So what they would do is they would chazer it straight away through the night to try to memorize it, and then in the morning they'd come into his yechidus, into his room, and they would repeat it to see if they got it right, and then he'd correct them or anything, and then continue learning it, and they just like internalize it. But the point is, and this is the vart over here, what we're saying is that is not enough. They could have memorized it. They could have, and imagine what brains they had to do that, and they could memorize it. But he's saying that's not enough. That's only the beginning. Once they've finished that Motzei Shabbos, so to speak, then it comes and they have to daven with it, and have to say to themselves, okay, so I understand this maimer well. I can tell it you Baal Peh. Now let me think about what does this mean. So what do I internalize? What's the message that the Rebbe Rashab is trying to give me, that I'm meant to be living my life differently? Let me know. Let me think about it. For the purpose of the study is for an individual to exert himself afterwards, both with body and soul, during his prayer, to meditate and to concentrate deeply and thoroughly, so that the light is felt in his mind and heart. And the whole purpose of learning Chassidus is not just to show that you understand the Chassidus and not to be able to just give it over, but it's that you feel the Chassidus in your mind and your heart. You feel it, you connect to it, and to become excited with genuine love and awe. And that's the ultimate result. It's meant to be a true love and fear of God. This will bring salvations to his soul in his performance of Torah mitzvahs, and this will help us in doing Torah mitzvahs and in the refinement of his natural motive traits, not just in doing Torah mitzvahs, but also to work on ourselves. Not just that we'll be motivated to daven and to learn and to do another mitzvah, and we will be more motivated to do that than to go do something that we shouldn't be doing, or staying up late, or eating what we shouldn't be eating, or watching what we shouldn't be watching, or saying things we shouldn't be saying. But we'll be motivated to learn another pasuk, to learn a little more Torah, to do another shim, to chaz another shim, to daven, and to give myself more time to daven, and to make sure to go to bed on time, and make sure to eat better. But not just that, also that I'll work on myself, that I'll say to myself, how am I as a person? Are there things I need to be working on? And we'll work on it. The godly light will then be engraved and absorbed in his soul, enduring forever, as explained above. And that light will endure and it'll stay with us, and will grain itself within us, and will be changed. Just like when you engrave something, it's there forever. Make that engravement. You can't seal it up unless you put on something else, a foreign, but you still, it's there. So to engraving, we're making an image of ourselves. The moment it could be with a piece of rock, and we're chipping away. Every time we put in the effort to learn and to really internalize, we're chipping away, and we'll make a beautiful image out of it. Summary: prayer requires das. Then the godly light becomes fixed in one's soul. Without the avodah of prayer, a person can study chassidus, yet remain, God forbid, the very antithesis of what he ought to be. Yeah, so the whole purpose is, like we've been saying a million times, das is connecting to it, connecting to what you're learning. It's really internalizing what you're learning in an emotional way, not just an intellectual way. And without davening, it's much harder. Davening meaning not just reading the words, meaning setting the time to meditate on what we're saying and to really internalize what you're saying. You're sitting back in the day, they'd put the talis over their head and they would daven for hours. They weren't saying the words for hours. They were thinking about the mind they had learned, and they're thinking about their lives and what are they doing and how could it be better and where can I do this. It wasn't a general thought, but it was a very specific thought. And that's what you have to do. And if you don't do it, then the learning could be totally taking you in the wrong direction, because you're using the learning is to just boost up your ego. And we have technically gone through the whole Sefer. Beautiful, beautiful. Parak Yud. Monday we'll start at Parak Yud, and we'll continue later to Yud Ches and go through it from the beginning till end. I wanted to say shkayach to everyone that's been listening, whether live or whether afterwards. And it's a beautiful accomplishment. You should give yourself a pat on the back. You should go get yourselves a donut. Peilach and Chanukah. Yeah, really, really a great achievement. What I wanted to do is Michal showed this to me so a lot of the things, let's say, that I have said, it's things that it seems like contradicting the book, let's say. Because Rebbe Rashab says things like davening, you have to even for an hour or two and things like this. And so I sort of adapted it to our generation, but people can come and tell me that you make stuff up. So there's in the Chassidus Deher, they have a section, I don't know which, this was from ER 5779, and it's all about davening in Dershvi, in our generation. So we have a few minutes, 5 minutes. I wanted to read through it a little bit, and to see, this is how they bring it down. I'm not sure where they get it from, but it's a trustworthy source. But just to summarize what we've, like the whole purpose of the Kuntres and what the take-home messages, of course, to learn it a million times, but take-home messages threefold. One is, in order that your Judaism should be on fire, be a passion, you have a passion of Judaism, it requires learning Chassidus, but not just in a superficial way, learning it till you understand it well, and not just that, but also applying it to ourselves and saying to myself, what does this mean? How am I meant to live with this? And that takes, and when you're doing that, that's called hisbonenus, that's called meditating. You're meditating on the concepts, and you're thinking about what does it mean to me, And how does it mean in my life? I have an idea of something to learn next, but we'll see. Yeah, that's essentially the purpose. When you do that, your Judaism will be totally different. You'll have a true passion, a true love, a real love, just like we love donuts, we love going on, I don't know, Miftzayim, or we love watching movies, and we love whatever it is that we love. We love going on vacation, love going to the beach, love having barbecues. We can have the same love for godliness, for learning, for doing a mitzvah, for connecting to the Eibishter, and fear as well. Just like we fear getting hurt, we can have the same fear of separation from God through not doing the mitzvahs. Well, let's see. Let me read this a little bit. It's maybe I'll try to find it and put it up online. When the Alter Rebbe was approaching his 20th, he decided, okay, I'm going to skim through it a little bit because I want to get through as much as we can. Basically, Alter Rebbe, he knew Chassidus. He knew how to daven. You know, the famous story, the Alter Rebbe, when he turned 20, he decided he wanted to go learn. And the two ushers were in Vilna, which was the Vilna Gaon, and learn about, and there they knew they learned. And then also go to Mizrich, the Magid, which was where he would was more about learning how to daven. So he said, I want to go learn in Mizrich to how to daven. So he said that. So the vart is that the Alter Rebbe didn't know how to daven. The Alter Rebbe knew all the Sfarim. He knew Kabbalah, knew the Sfarim on davening and the Pirush HaMilos. He knew everything. Whatever, he didn't understand how davening. But him calls that to daven, to like he needed to go to someone that actually knows how it's done and stuff like that. To know how to daven, you have to go to the Rebbe. That's what he says here. With that in mind, let us delve into the Rebbe's Torah to discover how a chassid in Dor HaShvi'i should daven. Authentic Avodas HaTefila is not something that belongs only to the olden days, while we must make do with cheap imitation. Even today, in the year 5781, a chassid can daven the way Chabad Chassidus truly demands. So we can still do it the same way. Everything we're talking about in this moment, we can still do. Yes, you can. The idea of davening is avodah, work. It's not unique to Chassidus. In fact, tefillah is avodah. It says avodah shabalev, zui tefillah. We've said this in the Kuntres. That's what an avodah, davening is avodah. That's what it says in Gemara. It's not Chassidus didn't make it up. When a Yid davens, he's doing avodah, even if he has never learned a maimer in his life. Everyone's told the story of a chassid of the Alter Rebbe who barely knew Pirush HaMilos. He didn't even know the translation of the words. Yet he davened for many hours with intense concentration. When asked by Chassidim what he thinks about for so long, he said he once heard a Torah from the Alter Rebbe. Shamer v'zacher b'dibur echad. Zacher, the Alter Rebbe said, means always to remember. Shamer, keep God in your mind. B'dibur, in every dvar, everything, you should always remember and keep in mind in everything, echad, the oneness. So the thing, Shamer v'zacher b'dibur echad, God, remember, it was said in one word. That's what the simple teaches. But the Alter Rebbe teaches, Shamer v'zacher, you should keep v'zacher, and you should remember, you should God, dibur, and in speech, echad, the oneness. So everything you should realize that this Eibishter is everywhere. And with this vart, this guy davened for 40 years. What do you mean he davened for 40 years? It's because he was internalizing the message that I have to realize that every single moment there's an opportunity to connect to the oneness of God, whether I speak or everything that I do, everything in my mind. And so he would think about it. He'd think about his day, he'd think about these opportunities that he has throughout the day and when things arise and how is he doing with it. Is he doing good with this vart? And is he not doing good with this vart? And he lived with this. This is the response to those who claim the proper Avodas HaTefillah does not apply to them because they lack a deep ground in Chassidus. And maybe they don't even know the meaning of the words. In this vart, the guy didn't even know the meaning of the words, but he learned this one vart, and he thought about it every day, and he was internalizing every day, and he davened for hours, internalizing this message to try to apply it to himself, to see in which situations can he apply this. From this story, we see that a full and comprehensive is to contemplate that everything comes from Hashem. The avodah of a Yid is to find the echad in everything. Like in that person, he was looking for the echad, for the oneness, for the unity, for the godliness in every single thing. And so too with us. When we learn a maimer, we take the maimer, and that's what it means to daven with the maimer, to think about that in maimer. So how does it apply itself to every situation of my life? You know, how does it apply to it when I get up in the morning? How can I apply this moment? How can I apply it during the day? And you can spend hours doing this. Now, of course, we're not necessarily going to spend hours, but the point is that it can be done. And it's not something we can't say, oh, I don't know how to daven, I don't know how to do this. What? You don't know how to think? Let's think about what does this moment mean to me? And spend the time. And that's what he's saying. This bonus is to spend the time thinking about it. And not just, it's nothing to do with me. Yeah, and he says, like we say in the next chapter that's coming up, in 11, the 5 steps of davening says, to daven slowly and patiently is a proper thing, but the Nefesh Bahamis and Yetzer Hara don't want you to let. The Nefesh Bahamis says that since it's not complete genuine, you shouldn't daven barichus. Yet the opposite is true. One must only daven. What is the other option? To sit and wait for the davening to be genuine, to wait until you have the kavanas of the Ramak or the Rizal. You have to simply do it. You have to daven and put in the effort. The Ramah says clearly that before davening, contemplating the greatness of Hashem. It doesn't mean to think a whole maimer. Even a few lines will suffice. Just like we listen to the Ramah when it comes to the halachas of Bas B'chalav, we have to listen to the Ramah when it comes to this as well. The Ramah, the Shulchan Aruch, that he says you have to make sure to keep kosher milk and meat. He says so too. He says you have to think about golden before you daven. So he's saying you don't have to think about a whole maimer. Think about a few lines. Have something that you think that you connect with. Yeah. Give some tzedakah. On occasion, I would say learn a parak of Tanya before davening. Doesn't mean you have to learn different parak. You learn the same parak. Think about who you're davening to. The whole thing. I'm going to try to see if it's online, and I'll post it up. I'll post it up. Anyways, have a great Shabbos. Have a Shabbos Chanukah, Shabbos Avarach, Shabbos Chanukah. You should have everything good, and we'll be continuing on parak Yud on Monday. And remember, parak Yud starts, so to speak, the short way. What happens if everything we're talking about till now is not so, is hard for us? What's the simple solution? Great job, everybody. Pat on the back.